I mean, there's been a number of things that people are complaining about with this Olympics. You know, there was like the opening ceremonies that had this, what people were saying, oh my God, it's the Last Supper, you know, all this controversy over whether this has anything, like, okay, here's a comparison picture. Like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be the Last Supper. But actually, it's like the Feast of Dionysus. Like, it's a Greek thing because the Olympics came from Greece, you know? So that's like where it started, all this annoying crap about the Olympics this year, with a bunch of people viewing basically viewing all culture through their own cultural lens, where, you know, no, like, how can you look at this and think that it's the Last Supper? You know? This is clearly a pagan Bacchanus, is that what it's called? It's clearly a pagan celebration. Anyway, that's only the beginning, right? That is only the beginning. Yeah, it's artsy French. I think that's an accurate term for what they were doing. The real kerfuffle has started when we start getting some performance speculation, right? Especially, there's always this issue within women's sports, although there actually is a trans male, I think doing boxing even, who is not on hormones or anything, non-transitioned, playing against women, and people are fine with that. But it's becoming more common and more prevalent now that when women excel, and especially women of color, when women of color excel at sports, there's like speculation that they are not real women, like, oh, this one must be trans, or oh, this one must be intersex. So that's what at least one boxer is kind of prominently at the center of all of this right now, and causing a bunch of people to freak out, basically. She's from Algeria. I think her name is pronounced Imane Khelif. She wins her first Olympic fight because her opponent, Angela Karina, quit. So Imane is from Algeria, which is a country that does not allow trans people. Like, I'm pretty sure it's illegal there to be trans. And Angela Carini is from Italy. And apparently Imane hit her so hard that it caused Karina to, like, quit, effectively. The Italian boxer promptly or abruptly walked away from her Algerian opponent and went to her corner Thursday, abandoning the bout, which is an extremely rare occurrence in Olympic boxing. Carini also didn't shake Khelif's hand after the referee formally raised it, but she cried in the ring after sinking to her knees. Minutes afterward, a still tearful Carini said she quit because of the pain from those opening punches. So, like, in the punching contest, one of these women punched really hard, and the other one just kind of folded completely, you know? And, like, listen, I'm not saying that I would want to box. I don't really want to invite a situation where I get punched in the face. But, you know, can you imagine, like, we're doing a test to see who can hit the hardest, and we found out that one person can hit harder, and now there's all this, like, international speculation about her gender and her sex status, basically. So, basically, there's a ton of people who are like, she's trans, or at least maybe not saying she's trans, but definitely saying she's a man. Like, we're going to see in this instance that we clearly have a delineation between male and female. Like, all of that is going to fall apart during the speculation around this issue. Yeah, welcome to the Olympics. You are up against the world's best athletes. Being punched harder than you ever have before might happen there. Yeah, you think maybe that there's a little bit more intensity in the fight when you're literally at the Olympics too. Even if you had fought the same people prior to the Olympics, maybe they're going to give it more during the Olympics. And yeah, if you didn't know this, you're supposed to block the punches and not just, like, take them directly to the face. Anyway, yeah, no kidding that it hurt. So yeah, now basically the whole concept of binary sex has fallen completely apart. Carini initially treated this like So the Italian who lost or who walked away from her fight she was like really unsportsmanlike in her loss because she kind of took up, or at least it took her several days to be like, no, she deserved the win. She did a good job. Because at first it's this whole, she's actually a man thing comes up. So Imane Khelif was previously disqualified from the 2023 World Championships after failing an unspecified gender eligibility test. And thus her presence at the Paris Olympics has become a divisive issue. But, I guess Carini says that she was not making a political statement and was not refusing to fight Khelif. Carini further said she is not qualified to decide whether Khelif should be allowed to compete. I mean, that's absolutely true. But there was all this speculation around, if Khelif was disqualified from a previous thing, but the organization that she previously was playing for was the IBA, which has been de-recognized by the International Olympic Committee over concerns about their judging and like corruption and stuff. So like the organization that allegedly we're relying on their testing, their vague testing that they didn't even disclose what the specific disqualification was. Okay, this is the organization that we're trusting when we're like questioning whether this woman deserves to be in the Olympics. And we've also seen like pictures of Imane as a child. She was assigned female at birth. She grew up as a girl. We don't actually have any evidence of any of these claims that people are making. Like people are claiming that she has XY chromosomes, but we don't know that that's true. And anyway, lots of people with XY chromosomes are born phenotypically female and produce female gametes, like they produce eggs, and they have kids, they have babies, they give birth to babies that they grew in their bodies naturally. Like, this is middle school biology. If you're stuck in XXXY, like, do you know anything about the SRY gene? Do you know anything about like the numerous steps of production, like that, like, well, if the SRY gene is flipped on, then it does this. But if this specific gene that grows testes is flipped off, it does this. Like, there's a great Forrest Valkai video where he goes into it in extreme depth. And I didn't even know that it was that complicated, that, SRY does certain things, but that's not like, it's a gene that's carried on the Y chromosome, but that's not the be all end all. And I think that you can even have SRY if you don't have a Y chromosome. I don't know. There's like a million places in the development of a human being where their sex can come out atypical to what you're expecting. Yeah, Forrest Valkai shout out. And then people are also claiming, she has higher than normal testosterone. But again, we don't have proof of that. But there are tons of people out here saying, she's a man. I can't believe you let this man fight in the women's league. What does it mean to be a man? Apparently being a man means you were assigned female at birth, you have a vagina, you presumably create eggs in your body, but you have slightly higher elevated testosterone and you're not a woman anymore? You're not female anymore? It's like trying to explain genetics to a horse. God, no kidding. Hi, I'm Alexander and this is Mitternacht. You should hit the like button and subscribe and check out the Patreon. And ooh, look at this hoodie I'm wearing. It's merch. Check it out. Links in the description. Thank you. But because of this, we have, world-renowned idiot J.K. Rowling going, the idea that those objecting to a male punching a female in the name of sport are objecting because they believe Khelif to be trans is a joke. We object because we saw a male punching a female. So this is racist also, fundamentally, is like one of the things that, because if a white woman had hit harder than anyone ever hit in their life, I don't think I don't think we would be seeing this speculation. Yeah, I mean, yes, by that logic, men with low testosterone are women. True. Let's look at, because this came up, so let's look at the meme that I've seen going around, because it's really simple, you guys. If you're born with a vagina and you naturally have elevated testosterone levels, that means you're a man. If you have a vagina and you take testosterone supplementary, you're a woman. Okay. But also, if you have a vagina, you'll never be a man. But also, if you have higher testosterone, then you were never a woman. Woman, never yes man, a vagina, testosterone, no was an elevated. Vagina man. Like, the logic is baffling. It's truly astounding. Yeah, the author who named her black character Kingsley Shacklebolt is racist. Shocker. Yeah, like if you are born with a vagina and you're taking testosterone because you're a trans man, they're like, well, you're always a woman. You're never going to not be a woman. But if you were born female and you have like polycystic ovarian syndrome and therefore a slightly higher level of testosterone, then I guess you're a man and you can't participate against women, you know? It makes no goddamn sense. And of course, you have Riley Gaines, another world-renowned idiot, quote tweeting someone saying like, beating women is now a spectator sport. We've never been more aware as a society of male violence against women. Why are the Olympics allowing this male to enter the boxing ring? Like, have you never seen really yoked out women? Apparently not. But yeah, Riley Gaines comes in saying, imagine training your whole life, getting good enough to earn a spot on the Olympic team, hoping to win an Olympic medal, and then you're told you have to fight a man. That's the tragic reality for these women. Again, Riley Gaines, who tied for 5th place with Leah Thomas, like neither of you placed, and you weren't going to place even if Leah wasn't in the race. Anyway. And it's really shit too, because I think there were like 3 transgender women who were not allowed to participate. Or like have been barred from participation because of like not fitting these weird gender requirements. So while there's all this freak out about not even intersex women, because again, we have no proof that Imane Khelif is intersex. A discredited organization claims that she was disqualified because she didn't pass the gender testing, but we don't have any actual evidence. So while there's all this nonsense going around about cisgender women who are assigned female at birth, grew up as women, always have identified as women, joined the sport as women to become world excellent athletes, trans women are not even allowed. Trans women are not even allowed. I think there was one transgender athlete in the entire Olympics this year, and it was a pre-transition trans man. Also, Imane has been beaten by cisgender women before. So again, even if we were to say, okay, well, she is intersex or she is trans, if you had those advantages, quote unquote, that does not mean that you're always going to win, you know? Because we know that testosterone is not like the leading factor in sports performance, or even going through testosterone puberty is not a leading factor. Like, you know how they actually do some like testosterone testing on these Olympic level athletes? Some of the highest performing male athletes are in the lower range of testosterone, you know? Yeah, I would have gone down as a mediocre loser, but a trans person lost slightly less bad than me, and now I make bank. Yeah, that's Riley Gaines in a nutshell. But this is a means of like racistly policing strong women of color by attacking them fundamentally. And again, like, Imane Khelif is from Algeria, which is a very anti-trans country, and it probably is very anti-intersex as well. She probably isn't pro-trans, you know? And I just want to acknowledge that, like, she probably would be pissed off if a trans woman was in the sport. And she herself is being called into question in this way. And I just want to also say, like, I don't think that me being trans and her being from an anti-trans country and therefore likely influenced by that, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to defend her, because she still doesn't deserve all of this speculation into her personal life and like all of these personal attacks. Again, on an international scale. International. People in the US and in the UK and everywhere around are accusing her of being a man, of being a male, of, you know, inappropriately entering this competition, like saying she didn't deserve to be there. Like, no, she's just one of the best athletes in the world at boxing. And she hits harder than other people. Yeah, this is like one of the highest profile cases of transgender hate affecting a cis woman, because this is what we've said before. When it comes to bathroom bills, when it comes to sports bullshit like this, statistically, in the world, there are more gender non-conforming cisgender women than there are trans women. So the group that is going to be affected the most is cis women. Cis women with short hair, cis women with big muscles. Like, those are the women, the people who are going to be most impacted by these things. Like, ooh, yeah, we're not going to allow you to participate. Like, Castor Semenya is not allowed to participate because she did too good at running, and people got really mad about it. And so they started doing all this genetic testing on her, and now she's not allowed to perform in several types of races. She can perform in some and not others. Yeah, it's about policing femininity, and it's about enforcing femininity according to white women, right? Because, like, by these standards, on average, women of color are quote unquote more masculine if we're basing this on like white women's standards of levels of testosterone or how tall they are or how much muscles that they have. Yeah, Castor Semenya is no more of a freak than Michael Phelps, who doesn't create lactic acid or creates like less than half as much lactic acid and has freakishly long arms, right? This is supposed to be the battle of the freakishly strong and fast people. That's what the whole point of this is. It's like, how far can human beings push it without doping? That's what the Olympics is, basically. How tall can you, like, how high can you jump? How hard can you hit? How accurate can you be? Let's push the extremes of human achievement. And yet, if you're a woman and you exceed the bounds, if you perform to a level of excellence that exceeds expectations, then, and if you're, like, specifically, if you're a woman of color, then yeah, you get to deal with international speculation, and they might even force you to do genetic testing and stuff. Yeah, exactly, ladies. You're only women if you're conventionally attractive according to Western standards. Sorry, hun. Welcome to the website. Asterisk says, it's Olympic level sports. You aren't just fighting a lady boxer, you're fighting the lady boxer. Your average person will never be able to compete at the Olympic level, even if they specifically trained for it from a young age, because you do need to be a genetic freak to be able to compete at the upper echelons of sports. That's the whole point. Yeah. And certain women are celebrated. Like, I've been seeing these posts about Katie Ledecky, who is a white woman from America, who, like, is so good at swimming that, like, all of the other swimmers are still swimming this direction, and then Katie Ledecky has already turned around at the end and is swimming back the other direction. Like, I think I just shared this. Let me see if I can find the post. No, I didn't share it. No. Oh, I don't know where it is. Oh my God. Like, here's one image. Katie Ledecky out here so far in the lead that none of the other athletes are even visible in this picture. She said that she let her mind wander during this race. And a 1500 for swimming is a long swim. That's a long time to be just like, you know, going up against Katie Ledecky and knowing that you have no chance. But there's not all this weird speculation on Katie Ledecky. Like, everything is apparently perfectly fine and normal. Like, this is how far she was pulling ahead by like halfway through this race. And so in a 1500, you go back and forth across the Olympic-sized pool multiple times. Like, she's so far ahead. But again, because she's a blonde white woman from America, we're not dealing with this level of scrutiny. Did Katie Ledecky's gender get called into question too? Maybe in a previous competition, but I haven't seen any conversation about this week. Like, we're so focused on Imane and not on Katie Ledecky. Exactly. The Olympics banned women from competing in skeet shooting after a woman won the whole thing in 1992. I thought it was much earlier than that. But then they added a women's league in the 2000s with a lower number of targets. Gender segregation is, in sports, only exists to preserve male supremacy. If you equal things out with, like, weight classes, height and weight classes, men slightly overperform in strength and women slightly overperform in stamina. Like people with more estrogen in their bodies, their muscles recover faster. Yeah, I guess Ledecky has been transvestigated in a previous competition, like maybe when everybody was up in arms about Leah Thomas, but not right now. And I guess like part of the difference is that there's like a violence component. Like people are super concerned because it was allegedly a male punching a female. And maybe that might be why people are more up in arms about Imane Khelif this time as opposed to Katie Ledecky. But Katie Ledecky is like, she pulls it out. She performs at an incredibly high level. And there's just so much less bullshit around it. Like, at least people shut up about it eventually. Yeah, training tends to equalize biological imbalance, if there is any. Yes, and athletic performance by gender has tons of confounding factors like quality of coaching and funding. Yeah, there was at least one study done that showed that some of the performance differences between men and women can be attributed to a lifetime difference in funding and quality of coaches and quality of equipment. So we would need to desegregate sports today at every level, and then in 20 years, we would start to see higher levels of performance equaling out a little bit. Because like, if you try to say, okay, well, let's take a female athlete versus a male athlete today, like, okay, well, but you can't account now for the fact that the female athletes for the last 20 years have been training in worse conditions. Like, I just think it's funny too, this whole like high level testosterone, low level testosterone thing being like the defining factor. Like Joe Rogan takes testosterone supplementary. Does that mean that he's a female? Caster Semenya has a higher level of testosterone, which I guess makes her a male. So if you're a heterosexual male, is it like straight for you to have sex with Joe Rogan, but it's gay for you to have sex with Caster Semenya? Because apparently testosterone level is the thing that defines whether you're male or female. But yeah, women can perform. Cis women can outperform cis men. And in several different instances, female sports have been created after cis women joined against men and beat men. They're like, oh, no, we got to get you a different league now for your own protection. Like, no, it's to protect the male ego, really. Androgen insensitivity is also a thing. Yeah, just because you have testosterone in your body doesn't mean it's actually doing anything. And it's worth pointing out that there's all this, controversy around cisgender athletes being able to play against other cisgender athletes, and oh, you should disqualify this person and everything. Meanwhile, Stefan van de Velde, who was convicted of sexually assaulting a 12-year-old child in 2014, is playing at the Olympics. He will be isolated from the other athletes at the Paris Olympics, but he's there performing, and there's not nearly so much controversy around that. Like, someone who actually, like, sexually harmed a child. And it's, like, ironic because there's all this rhetoric around trans people that we're groomers and we are attacking children, like, and therefore we should be barred from participation. And yet, cisgender men who are actually convicted of assaulting children, like, uncontroversially get to play at the Olympics. Symbolic Noise says, when the Olympics puts athletes against each other, they make sure that their attributes are completely the same. I'm assuming you mean height and weight wise, so they can compete on the same level, making everything fair. I mean, here's another thing. Sports is not supposed to be fair. We were talking about it earlier. This is a competition of genetic freaks against one another. Like, at the end of the day, sports, like, you can only do so much to make it a level playing field. You're going to have to disbar the people with the most opportunity for excellence. If you're like, well, oh, in order to play on the women's team, you can only be as tall as 5'7". Like, okay, does that mean that like a 5'10" female like just never gets to participate because you want it to be fair to all of the 5'7" women? Yeah, it's funny how a lot of these people are calling themselves feminists, but they're attacking women. Like, and calling them men and males. True, yes, a lot of people have a fantasy that an average man could compete at a high level with Olympic female athletes. I'm not sure what else there is to add on this at this point, It's just really silly, the amount of pearl clutching that happens around, again, it's like this is the competition of who can hit the hardest. And if someone hits harder and then we have to question whether they actually belong in the competition or not, like, it's really silly. The Man Show documented this. They had an average man called Doug Stanhope fight Tanya Harding. Spoiler alert, he got punched a lot. Yeah. Good grief. Thank you so much to all my patrons, but especially Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rovag, Jack, Amanda B., Michelle Frateroli, Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Danielle McDonald, DZXN, Elavi Nobody, Pastel Infinity, Suzanne Maynard, Nova, Desi Quiche, Celeste, Athiette, Jamie Jam, Sojo, Bean, Kevin Young, Mr. Atheist, Liam Hodgson, Elizabeth Bartell, and Jericho.